Yesterday's ruling by the Supreme Court once again set back the employers of our state. You know, for years now, we've been working to try to change the standard by which human rights cases are brought forward. And basically, since the 1960s, the state of Missouri actually mirrored that of the federal law, so that whether you were sued in state court or in federal court, your threshold for cause was the same, which was that whatever happened was the motivating factor. A few years ago, the court, just out of the blue, all of a sudden changed it to contributing factor. We're the only state in the nation where the standard is now the contributing factor, not the motivating factor. And that is a huge deal. It's a huge issue when businesses end up in court, when employees sue employers. And because of this outrageous ruling, basically, if you are an employer in Missouri, you are at a greater liability to be sued than any other place in the country. Yesterday, what happened is, following the decision yesterday by our Supreme Court, now took that a step further and said, not only have we made it the lowest bar in the nation when it comes to workers being discriminated, but now what we're going to do is we're also going to say in workers' compensation cases, we're going to set this incredibly low, arbitrary bar that no other state in the nation uses. So what's this mean? It means that once again, in the state of Missouri, we have judges legislating from the bench. We no longer have a top court that interprets laws. We now have a top court that's rewriting our laws. And the problem is every time they do that, they make the business case, the business climate in our state more difficult for our employers. And at some point, whether it's the liability of frivolous lawsuits, whether it's the fear of being sued on some outrageous, ridiculous claim, or whether it's the cost of having to buy insurance, where the insurance is going to be higher here than anywhere else because of these issues we've just talked about, they're making Missouri a less friendly place to do business. You know, I think that if the General Assembly was to decide that it's time to move, and it's definitely time, step one would be trying to undo some of these decisions that they've done over the last 5 to 8 years. Basically, from the mid-60s to the mid-2000s, employment law in our state mirrored that of the federal government. So, you know, for basically 40 years, 40 plus years actually, state law, federal law weren't that much different. Beginning in 2005, 2006, through a series of several decisions, 8 to 10 different decisions, whether it was through Supreme Court rulings or judicial discretion or jury direction, they literally have rewritten employment law. The next step in that is, if we want to fix this problem long term, I believe our Supreme Court judges, our appellate court judges, our circuit judges at every level should be accountable to the people. I believe that if they are going to continue to hand down these kinds of decisions, the people should have the right to remove them. I think they should run for election, and they can run geographically. I think that's probably a better solution than 7 or 8 judges that run throughout the entire state. But most importantly, we have to have a judicial branch that understands what its constitutional role is, not what their activist role is. And I believe that the only way that we will ever have that is when they are directly accountable to the people that they serve. And that is the citizens of the state, not a handful of lawyers who have a backroom process right now for picking our judges. It's fundamentally broke. And if we do not step up and fix it with dramatic change, you can't tinker around the edge here and fix this. It's going to take a dramatic change in the Missouri plan to bring resolution to these, what I believe are irresponsible and hostile decisions towards the job creators of the state. If I'm a member of the state chamber, the number one thing you can do right now is call your elected officials. I mean, tell them, listen, this decision that came out just continues to put me at greater risk, and enough's enough. Whether it's the poor decisions that's happened over the last 8 years, whether it's the one that happened yesterday, at some point we've got to draw a line in the sand and say we are done. We can no longer continue to allow our courts to erode away 50 years of practicing law. I mean, this idea that they can rewrite legislation from the bench has got to stop. And that's just what's happening. I mean, it's just that simple. So these decisions aren't, minor tweaks here or there. They're dramatic public policy shifts. And I think that it's important that business owners tell their elected officials, you're my representative to fight against this. So go fight against it. And you know what? We need to fix the problem first, and then we need to fix the underlying root of the problem, which is the way that we select judges. Those would be the two messages that I would call every elected official and share with them.